أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بالإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Okay, so before we start the class, I just noticed that in the live they can't see what I wrote on the board, but it's no problem. I'm going to basically spell it out and say it, and then mention why I put it there. Okay, so on the back, behind me on the board is the name of the YouTube channel. It's the name of the YouTube channel where you can follow all of the content and the videos, some lectures, some classes that I upload to the channel. The reason why I wrote it on the board is because I noticed something a few months ago. Maybe I noticed it maybe a year ago, that the views were very low on the content. Not a lot of people were watching the views, and I was a little thrown off by why you have some videos with 200, 300, 1,000 views, and why other videos with 50, 10, and so on. And then I realized that YouTube has blacklisted me in some way or somehow. And many times when people ask me for the channel, when I go to enter the name of the channel in their phones or in my own phone, I can't even find my own channel.
Wow.
They made it difficult to reach my channel. So everyone, if they want to test it, they can just go to YouTube and put in One Understanding for Islam, and you should be able to directly have access to the channel. As soon as you put in One Understanding, there's no other title or no other name similar to it, so it should pop up automatically in the suggestions. It doesn't pop up. And then when you continue it for Islam, number one, understanding, number four, Islam, it should pop up automatically, but it doesn't. So this is how I know that YouTube is making it difficult for people to have access to the channel. So I would say everyone should go check that out. Subscribe, and view some of the videos that's there. And I'm not the only person who complained about this. I heard many people have complained about this as well. With that being said, we'll start the class بإذن تعالى. الإثبات الإرادة الله تعالى. Establishing the will of Allah. Establishing what do they mean by the will of Allah or the desire of Allah? Establishing the sifa, the description from amongst the descriptions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is al-irada. And if you're in the class, you should try to memorize some of these words. Build your Islamic vocabulary. Al-irada. Okay. وقوله, and the Shaykh goes on to mention the statement of the Imam, ولا يكون إلا ما يريد. And the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the statement of the Imam, where the meaning of, and it won't be except with His or by His will. It won't be except by His will. فَإِنَّهُ تَعَالَى فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. But verily Allah is the one who does what He wills. And in the Arabic word that they use here is fa'al. Fa'al. And it could have been mentioned fa'il ma yurid, the one who does what he wills. But in the Arabic language, the word fa'al is along that which is called sighat al-mubalagha. It's given more emphasis in the actual text, in the actual word. So meaning that what? People have will and they do what they desire and what they will, but no one no one's will or no one's action is more complete, is more attached to his intention as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do, right? We wish and we will and we try, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always completes what he wishes, and there's a difference. But we may intend something and we can't get it done, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever he wills, he completes. وَهُوَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى يَفْعَلُ مَا يَشَاءُ. So Allah, the one who's free from all deficiency, he does what he wills. فَهُوَ رَبُّ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ. He is the Lord of everything. وَهُوَ خَالِقٌ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. He is the creator of everything, which is very important, and we reiterated many times, is that if you're going to take a deity, a God, something for worship, he should have these characteristics. The characteristic that they should have is that they have the ability to create. Not procreate, but create. For Allah creates from nothing, and we create from that which he has given us the provision. Right? That which he has given us the provision. If a person didn't have strong health, he cannot create children. If a person didn't have a spouse, he cannot create children, right? If a person doesn't have a job, he cannot provide. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for us without having anything or any assistance. فَمَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ قَوْنِهِ لَا بُدَّ أَنْ يَكُونَ. So for whatever Allah wills, it will happen. Factual. It's not a possibility of it not coming into play or into existence. إنما قولنا لشيء إذا أردناه أن نقول له كن فيكون. And like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah An-Nahl, verse 40, verily, he says, indeed our word is to a thing. When we intend it, is but that we say, be and it is. Be and it is, right? And this is the ability of the creator, not the ability of the creation. And everyone who people worship besides Allah falls under the category of creation. And when we check and we look at their most miraculous actions, we see that was only by the permission of Allah. So when people look at Moses with being amazed, or we're amazed by Jesus alayhi salam, or we're amazed by the actions and the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad, these are all things that they were able to do by way of the Creator's assistance. طيب. والإرادة في قوله ولا يكون إلا ما يريد. And the meaning and the will in his statements that and it will not exist except by his will. هي إرادة كونية. Pay attention. الإرادة الكونية. So إرادة, when we say إرادة was, if we had to give it a rough translation, we say will, right? Irada for us means desire, to want to do something. But for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would say will. And there's a couple ways to translate will, and it has some slight differences. You can say mashi'a and irada. We're going to cover both of them today. The irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that when he wishes or when he intends, it happens. And our irada, when we intend or we want, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but it's all by his permission. So the irada is two types. When we're dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an irada has two types. An irada al-kawniyya and irada al-shar'iyya. An irada al-shar'iyya. The irada al-kawniyya, right, is the universal will of Allah. It's the universal will of Allah. And irada al-shar'iyya is the legislative will of Allah. We're going to cover a little bit of this now. which is very, very important because many of the Muslims, they have fell astray with regards to understanding this. And they may ask, well, if Allah is the creator, then why does he allow this? Why does he allow that? Why does he allow this war? Why does he allow these people to be under famine? Why does he allow these people to be under conflict and oppression? We're going to cover a little bit of that now. ونقول الإرادة الكونية لأن الإرادة المضافة لله نوعان. Okay, so he says الإرادة الكونية, we say إرادة كونية because إرادة has two types. And that which is, like we said, legislative and universal. فمن شواهد الإرادة الكونية, and from some of the evidences that have been extracted from the Quran of the irada of Allah, that is al-kawniyya, فَمَنْ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ, and whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills to guide, right? So the guidance of Allah, right? Or whoever Allah wills, He guides. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ, and whoever Allah wills, then He leads astray. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ, the one who does what He wills. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يُرِيدُ, and Allah verily guides whom He wills. Allah guides whom He wills. And this is why it's very important when a person, he finds himself to be upon guidance, he's extremely, extremely grateful to the Creator because he didn't have to be guided. You didn't have to be guided. You didn't have to be a person who prayed. You didn't have to be a person who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You didn't have to be a person who's a humanitarian and wishes well for others. But Allah put that in your heart. You weren't born with the ability to worship Allah alone without any distraction. But Allah is the one who allowed the distractions and still kept you on the path. والإرادة الشرعية من شواهدها, and إرادة الشرعية, the legislative will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some of the evidence for it. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر, and Allah wants for you ease. He does not want for you difficulty. He wants for you ease. He does not want for you difficulty. So when you find yourselves going through difficulty, don't ever think that is what Allah wanted for you. What He allows is one thing. What He wants for you is something different. He wants for you ease. And it's also the Aqeedah that they use, or the principle that is used with regards to how the Prophet ﷺ would implement Islam and practice Islam. Whenever he came across two conflicting issues or two conflicting practices, he would take that which was easier. He would take the easier path. So for the brothers and the sisters who are always taking the extreme position in every single thing, they know that this is not from the minhaj of the Prophet ﷺ. This is not from the methodology of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تُرِيدُونَ عَرْضَ الدُّنْيَا وَاللَّهُ يُرِيدُ الْآخِرَةِ, and they wish that the dunya, that this world become given to them, or that they want the benefits of this world, whereas Allah wants for them the benefits of the hereafter. طيب. الفرق بين الإرادتين من وجهين. The difference between the two of the two types of irada. And we said irada to what? What were the two types of? You see who's paying attention. We said irada al-kawniyya wa shar'iyya. What are the two types? Irada al-kawniyya, shar'iyya. What was the translation we gave? Irada, the will for legislative, shar'iyya. And irada al-kawniyya is it's like the can we say the universal will?
Right.
They both are the will of Allah. It's the universal will and the legislative will. Why it's important, we're going to try to be a little bit more, or clarify it a little bit more. طيب. الأول أن الإرادة الكونية عامة لكل ما يكون لا يخرج عنها شيء، فتشمل ما يحبه الله وما يبغضه الله. So, الإرادة الكونية, the universal will of Allah, right? It is a general will of Allah. It's a general will. It's a general. It's the general will that no one escapes from. No one is exempt from it, right? Everyone who's alive now is within that universal will of Allah. Okay. No one escapes from it, and it comprises of that which Allah loves and that which Allah dislikes. Right? He loves some things from that which is universal, and He dislikes some things of that which is universal. Can you give me an example? Anyone give me an example of maybe something that falls under the universal will of Allah or the allowance of Allah that He may like?
He's one that has no partners.
Okay, in theory, yes. In theology, yes. What else?
What did you say, Roy?
That he is one alone and he has no partners.
Okay.
What else?
And your question was, give you an example?
Example of a particular type of universal will of Allah. Something that He commands or allows.
The sun and the moon follow courses exactly.
Okay. Now, okay, just to speed it up. Let's just say for what He loves, we worship Him.
Okay.
What He dislikes, we disobedient, right? To not worship Him, but He allows it. A person who doesn't worship Allah may live 100 years, 150 years, or like in the time of Noah, the people were living up to 1,000 years or longer, or shorter, right? So the person lived 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it. Didn't mean that He was pleased with their actions, but He allowed it. Okay? طيب. فالإيمان المؤمنين وطاعة المطيعين وكفر الكافرين ومعصية العاصين. So it is like the obedience of the believers when they obey Allah, and the disobedience of the disbelievers when they decide to disobey Allah, or the sinful Muslim, right? Because we fall under that category as well. Your iman is high, you stay away from sins and transgressions. When your iman is low, you fall into more sins and transgressions. Falls under the iradatul kawniyya. Like, this is going to clarify the difference. Now, al-irada al-shar'iyya and the legislative will, فإنها تختص بما يحبه الله فقط. فالإرادة الشرعية, the legislative will of Allah, is specific to that which Allah loves only. Specific to that which Allah loves only. So irada kawniyya can be that which Allah loves and that which Allah dislikes. But irada shar'iyya is only what Allah loves. So it's the command to pray. It's the command to identify that there's only one deity worthy worship, and that His last messenger is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? It's legislating. You can't come with a different type of You can't come with a different type of theology and try to make it Islamic. Or the being righteous to the parents and righteous to the spouses. This is, Allah loves this. He commanded this. So it's legislated will. طيب. الإرادة الكونية لا تستلزم المحبة، وأما الإرادة الشرعية فإنها تستلزم المحبة. So, إرادة الكونية, the universal will of Allah, it doesn't demand or necessitate that Allah is pleased with the actions of the people who do the sins and transgressions. But the legislative will, it demands, or it is attached to Allah's love. وبهذه مناسبة الصحيح أن المشيئة لا تنقسم فلا يقال إن المشيئة نوعان. Okay, so remember I said at the beginning there is that which is the irada and mashi'a. Irada and mashi'a. And in English, in Arabic it's very clear. But trying to translate in English takes away some of the essence of the meaning. So this is why I use will, and we'll use will again. Irada, will, and mashi'a, will. But there's a difference. There's a difference, right? Okay, so the Shaykh, he goes on to mention, he says, as for irada, then it has that which is two types. And mashi'a only have one type. It only has one type. فلا يقال إن المشيئة نوعان شرعية وكونية. So he said, you don't say that there is a universal will and a legislative will for mashi'a. What are the couple words you guys learned just in this couple minutes? What's he paying attention, man? Mashi'a.
And
Al-irada. I specifically mention them in Arabic instead of taking out the Arabic so that you can get the words, right? So try to memorize these words because the words are very important, right? And then like you hear many people say that فلان وعلان تحت مشيئة الله. This person and that person, because of what they did, they're under the mashi'at Allah. They're under the will of Allah. If He wills to punish them on Yawm al-Qiyamah, He'll punish them. If He wills to allow them to enter paradise بغير حساب, without being held accountable, He can do that. But that all goes back to Allah's will. Okay. Right. الكونية الشرعية and so on. بل المشيئة كونية فقط وليس لمن قال إن المشيئة نوعان. So as far as mashi'a, then there's only kawniyya, there's only the universal will of Allah. It's not the two types. It's the universal acceptance, or if you want to say the universal permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ما يدل على قوله, and that which is established from the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that which is general. ما شاء الله كان وَمَا لَمْ يَشَأْ لَمْ يَكُنْ. Or the statement of, it's not a statement of Allah, it's a statement of the Imam. So he says, what Allah wills to be, will be, and what He does not allow or will not be.
And that's the universal.
That is the universal will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تقسيم الإرادة إلى الكونية والشرعية يجري مثله في معاني متعددة في القرآن. So he says that the mashi'a, the division of an irada إلى الكونية والشرعية, into that which is universal and that which is legislative, it resembles the mashi'a, right? The mashi'a in many ayat, or the meanings of many ayat. throughout the Quran. So they're extremely similar, but there is a difference.
Yes.
And then he goes on to mention, he says, وَمِمَّا يُضَافِ إِلَى اللَّهِ الْإِذْنِ. And from the meanings is that which is attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of Him giving permission. وَهُوَ الشَّرْعِي, and it is legislative. And qudri, and it is by His will. والقدر هو الكون والقضاء والتحريم والبعث والإرسال. And he goes on to mention some of the ones that are similar to that which with regards to universal, like the decree of Allah, or the prohibition of Allah, or the sending of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prophets and messengers, or the actual message that is sent to the prophets and messengers, and like this and so on. وَأَمَّا الْإِذْنِ الشَّرْعِي فَقَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And as far as the permission, the legislative permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is established like in the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where He says, مَا قَطَعْتُم مِّن لِينَةٍ أَوْ تَرَكْتُمُوهَا قَائِمَةً عَلَى أُصُولِهَا فَبِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَلِيُخْزِيَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. This is whatever you have cut down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet and his companions, whatever you have cut down of the palm trees or left standing by their roots, it was by the permission of Allah, and He wills or disgrace, and He wills and disgrace, and He will disgrace those who disobey. And so on. Right. One of the things we wanted to point out with regards to, one of the things has to be pointed out as we close out with regards to the understanding the iradatullah and mashi'atullah, is that whatever Allah intends or wills, He wills with a wisdom that may not be understood. Some of the things that Allah decrees, its wisdom is known. And many of the things that Allah has decreed, His wisdom is kept with Him. But the people from Ahlul Sunnah, the people who follow the Quran and the Sunnah as understood by the way of the Sahaba in the early generations of Islam, we never attribute to Allah evil. We never attribute to Allah evil. Whether you understand the lesson or you understand the wisdom or not, know that in it is wisdom. And no one can tell any of you other than that, because you have embraced, many of you have embraced your situations and you have understood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tests and at times He afflicts His best of slaves, the best slaves, right? He afflicts the best of His slaves. And another reason where you find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He may afflict someone is because they themselves may not have enough good deeds to enter into paradise. So for Allah's love for them, He afflicts them, because like the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that there is not a believer except that if he's pricked by a thorn, he's pricked by the sins, if he's patient, right? Okay, so who are more patient than some of you brothers and sisters? And we understand that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put people in a situation that they're in with the wisdom that is with Him, and it's possible that He actually loves them, and He shouldn't be looking at the situation as Allah doesn't love them. He's actually given them a second chance for redemption and to enter them into His paradise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from all of us. Are there any questions? Alaikum
I'm
salam.
just gonna bring a pencil in next time. I can't, I got the
Yeah, it's very important because you want to start building some vocabulary. Even if you heard like an Arabic lecture right now, you'll be able to pick up mashi'a, koniya, shara'iyya, right? Irada. You'll be able to pick up these words. You hear these words in many of the classes, whether it just be just reading the Arabic, you hear these words, and you're able to pick up words, one word here, two words there, and so on, and it will help you start building your Arabic vocabulary as well as your Islamic vocabulary. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله
Only one
وبركاته.
time I can pull up every time.